So in general then, we will define the nth root of a number b to be equal to a if and only if that phrase if and only if is often used in math, and especially it is used in definitions. The nth root of b is equal to a number a if and only if a to the nth is equal to b. Okay? If it turns out that the number n, which is called the index of the radical, if n is even, then the number inside the root, the number square roots of positive numbers or zeros. If n is odd, then the nth root of b is positive. If b is positive or 0, and the nth root of b is negative if b is less than 0, if b is negative. Okay? As I mentioned earlier, this is called the radical sign. The little number here is called the index of the radical. It tells us what kind of root we're going to be taking. And the number whose root we're taking is called the radicand. That would be the number inside the radical sign. Okay. Now, let's look at some examples of some common roots. For example, what if we have the square root of 121 with a negative in front of it? Well, we know that the number inside the square root has to be positive, and it is. And so this number is just equal to a negative 11. 1 is 11. In this case, we have a negative square root of 121. So our answer is going to be a negative 11. What about the cubic root of negative 64? Again, we're looking for a number b so that if we cube b, we end up with a number 64. Well, in order to end up with a negative, we're going to have to start with a negative if we're cubing it, and you can probably realize a negative 64. So the cubic root of negative 64 equals negative 4. What about the fourth root of the number 16? In this case, if we say that this is a number a, then what we want is for number 2. So the fourth root of 16 equals 2. There's a possibility of two answers, the positive and the negative, but when we don't especially mean the negative, we're going to take the principal root, which is the positive one. On the other hand, and that's all we need to say about that. It's not a real number. We haven't worked yet with the extension of the real numbers, so at this time, that's all we need to do. What about the square root of 9/16? Here we have a number b, so that when we square b, you need something squared which gives you a 9, so that b is going to have a 3 in the numerator, and for the denominator, this will be 4 squared. So we can say b equals 3/4, because 3/4 squared equals 9/16. So the square root of 9/16 take the cubic root of a negative 81/27. What is that equal to? Well, first of all, we have this negative inside here, so we know that the answer is going to be negative. But what is the number whose cube is a negative? Let's say that this is some number b. So what we want is for b to the third power to be equal to a negative 81/27. Well, we know, as I said, that a negative cubed will give us a negative, so first of all, that b is going to have to be negative. And I want some number cubed which is equal to 81. Easy answer for that, it's going to be an irrational number. So let's go ahead and write it as the cubic root of 81 for the moment, and later we'll see how to take care of it. And if you take 3 times 3 times 3, you end up with 27. So the number b turns out to be the negative cubic root of 81 over 3. And later in the course, we're going to see how to take care of those cubes of 81.